Okay, so the odds are you are struggling with getting more appointments, okay? So I'm going to give you my complete structure and how I actually make sure that my outreach converts and how I'm getting the maximum amount of appointments as possible for the volume of leads that I'm putting into my system, okay? My name is Josh. If you don't know me, I own a six-figure lead gen agency. Literally, the only thing I do is outreach, okay? And is appointment set for other agencies and coaches, okay? So I have an idea on how this stuff works. So what I'm going to teach you in this video, this stuff that you're about to learn is, I can't even not even express how powerful this is because this has saved me so many thousands of dollars in my business just by implementing some of these strategies that I'm about to show you. Okay, I've literally taken one outreach script, and because of one minor tweak, I was able to increase that by 500%. Okay, and I'm going to give you an example of how this actually happened and how this actually played out, and how I used what I'm going to tell you to be able to fix that problem and make that change. Okay, so I hope this is helpful to you. Let's get into it. Okay, so before I get into this, I need to kind of clarify some terms so that you actually know what I'm talking about. Okay, so what we're going to talk here about is really something called systems. Okay, so now I want to give you a formal definition of a system, or maybe not a formal definition, but my definition of a system, so that this video will make sense to you. Okay, so basically, a system is when we start with an input and then we put it through multiple different processes to achieve an output. So, for example, right, if we have a list from a database, a system like, let's say, an email marketing system could be send the email. Person like looks at the email headline or subject line, sorry. The person then opens the email. The person then reads the email. The person then replies to the email. You reply to the person with the calendar link. They click the calendar link. They book the call. Okay, and then they're basically converted from someone on a database to now someone who's booked a call. Okay, so when I say the word system, this is what I mean. Okay, so how does this actually, like, understanding what this is actually help your business? Okay, well, here's the thing, right? So the most important part of actually making successful outreach campaigns is iteration. Okay. And what I mean by this is you start off with a base level system, right? You write out all the copy and then you start sending it. After that, you need to make changes to it depending on how well it performs. Okay. And the problem is that most people just split test random different things. Okay. So this is what I mean, right? So when people make email campaigns, right, they have their subject line one, they have their subject line one, they have their body copy one, they have CTA one, and then they have right. Let's just say this is what composes your email system. Okay, now there's more to it than this, but just for simplicity's sake, let's call this email campaign one. Right now, we also have email campaign two. Right, so we have subject line two, body copy two, CTA two, and this is email system number two. Now, the problem with this, right, we might split test these and see that this has a 1% appointment booking rate, okay, 1% ABR, and this has a 1.3% ABR. Now, here's the problem, right? So people are going to be like, oh, this one's better than this one, right? Pretty straightforward. This one's better than this one, okay? I'm sorry for my terrible drawing, right? But people just say that, and it's true, but that doesn't tell us any information on how to actually improve this, right? So the reason why I say that is because we have a different subject line and a different body copy and a different call to action. So body copy might be worse than this. The call to action here might be worse than this, but the subject line might be way better than this one. This subject line might be terrible, but we don't even know that, right? So the best email could actually be subject line two, body copy one, call to action one, right? But we don't know that because we didn't test each independent variable. Okay. And this is another thing why it's so important to track each individual metric. Okay. The reason why this one is better than this one might just be because the subject line is better, and we don't know that. Okay. So we need to not be in the dark on these things, or else we're going to make decisions that don't give us the maximum amount of leverage, right? Because the third email that I drew, that might be like a 2.5% ABR. We're doubling the results that we could have had just by understanding and split testing each individual variable at a time. Okay. So how do we actually know these things, right? So how do we actually know them? So what we would do instead of testing those two things is we would have an email that's subject line 1, body copy 1, and CTA 1. Once again, there's more variables than this. This is just a simple example. And then we could do subject line 2, body copy 1, CTA, right? And now we know that if this one performs better than this one, then the subject line is better, okay? Now what we do is we get rid of this and we can split test more variables with this one because we know this one's better. So we can try this test versus subject. We could do like subject line 2 versus body copy 1, CTA 2, right? And now we can see whether this one is better than this one or not. And we can attribute that to the call to action because that's the only thing that's different. Okay. So it's very important that we're isolating one variable at a time, because if we know that one test is better than the other, we know what the actual cause of that was. So we don't need to change things that might have been better. Okay. So that's one extremely important thing. The next thing I want to touch on is metrics and actually tracking things a bit more in depth, right? So once again, we'll do another cold email example. So let's do the system that I was talking about before, right? So we have our input. So we'll call this the input is the human on a list. Okay, and then we put this guy into our system. Okay, we're going to make this big circle our system. Okay, and we're going to do this just because. Okay, and the desired output, excuse my fantastic drawing, is going to be a human on a call. Okay, or a human who booked a call. So the first thing, right, we're going to send them the email. So this is going to be, we're going to send them the email. The first thing they're going to see is the subject line, right? The next thing that they're going to see, right, if they get past the subject line and click on the email, so this will be like the action that we want the human to take because of the subject line is to click, right? And then they're going to open it and they're going to view they're going to view the email. Okay, so this is another thing that people get wrong too, is they send like a massive like email, right? But the problem is they don't just like click the email and then read it. They click the email, skim it, and then read it. If they see that it's some long shit, they're not even going to read it. So if it's long and it's like fantastic, they're not even going to read it because of how long it is, and they don't have that much time. These people are busy. Okay, so that's just another tip in itself. Once they view it and they see, okay, this is something that I might want to read. Okay, it's important to have some kind of a hook. Then you're going to have your body copy. Okay, and what they do here, the desired action is to read. Okay, once they read your body copy, the desired action is to read CTA. Read CTA. And maybe you sent the booking link in the first email, which I would not recommend you do, by the way. I would have the CTA as a, like, you reply to me if you're interested in on, then I'll send you the link. But whatever the case may be, then you can have the CTA. For this case, we'll say we sent the link just because it's easier. Okay, so they respond to the CTA is our goal. Respond to CTA. Okay, and then they click link. So click link, right, and then book time. Okay, view time. View slots that are open. Okay, so, and then we get a human who has booked a call, right? That is our desired output. So we see we have all these different stages. Now let's say this campaign is performing poorly. Okay, so now, right, now we go back to the part where it's like, okay, we need to split test. Let's say, but we don't know what to split test, right? Because we don't just like pick, okay, let's split test the subject line, because the subject line might not be an issue, right? And we can actually know that before we test it. Okay, and this is why this is extremely, extremely important, because let me ask you, what's a more difficult problem to solve? My cold email system doesn't work, right? Problem number one. Or my open rate isn't good, okay? So what's more difficult to fix? A bad open rate or a bad cold email system? Because if you have a bad cold email system, you don't even know what the problem is. If you have a open rate system, there's only a very few things that could be wrong, right? Your deliverability could be bad, and in deliverability, there could be a few different parts that might be causing the issue, or your subject line sucks, or like you have some weird email domain name, right? Those are the only possible three things it could be. It probably isn't going to be the third one. Um, there's realistically only two things that that problem could be. So now we can split test those two different things, and we can guarantee that we will solve the problem. Well, not guarantee, right? If you have a bad subject line and you write another bad subject line, then it will stay bad. But now we actually know what problem we have to solve, right? So a lot of the times, people are going to like see, oh, my appointment booking rate is bad. Like going from here to here is bad. My cold email system is bad. And then they're going to be like, oh, well, I'll just change my pitch. But your pitch isn't the problem, right? If you have a bad open rate, you can have the best pitch in the world, but it's not going to matter, right? Like you can have a 100% converting pitch, but if zero people see your email, you get zero appointments. Okay. So this is why tracking your metrics is so damn important. Okay. So every single stage in here should be tracked. Now, obviously, you can't track every single thing. Like you cannot track if they read it or not. However, what you can track is you can track the views or the opens, right? The amount of opens you get to the amount of people that click the link. Okay. So now we can see that the only variables that could possibly like if this metric is bad, this would be your like click-through rate on your email, right? That would be it could be because of a like your email's too long, like the formatting of your body copy is bad. The pitch in general in your body copy is bad. The call to action might be unclear, or could be one of those three things, right? You might have like some spelling error in your body copy. Those are the only three things that it could be, right? It could be bad formatting, it could be a bad pitch, or it could be an unclear call to action. If you have any other problem when you are going from when you have a good open rate and you have a bad click through rate, the only three things that could possibly be hindering it is your body copy, which is composed of your pitch and your offer, etc. It could be the call to action being unclear, or it could be the formatting of your body copy is poorly done. Okay, so now we only have to fix that issue, right? Which could only have three problems. If we're trying to fix a cold email system issue, right, we could have a million different problems. So now trying to actually make this work becomes 200 times harder. Okay, so I'm going to show you a legitimate real life example of my problem that almost screwed me over if I like it would have screwed me over if I didn't know actually how to do this. Okay, so I use cold DMs for my outreach. My main method of outreach is cold DMs. Okay, and that has to do with the fact that my audience is very much on social media. I don't know where the pen went on this. um I guess we will use shapes. Okay, so we have four different boxes. Okay, so this system is composed of setting in an actually it might have one setting the initial message, right? So the amount of initial messages sent. This is the input, right? And then we have our the amount of people that actually respond to the initial message, or rather the amount of people that see the initial message, and then the amount of people that actually go ahead. I don't want to do that. The amount of people that go ahead and respond positively. So we have the amount of people see it, the amount of people who respond positively. Then we send them the next message, basically asking for permission for us to give them a pitch. And then that would be the next box if they respond positively to that, right? And then if they do respond positively to that, then we send them our pitch. If they respond positively to that, we send them the calendar link. And if they book a call, well, then they book a call, right? And that is the final output. Okay, so this is what my system looks like. It has all these different boxes. Okay, so now what these boxes are, let's not do that. So we have number one is we have a group of humans on social media who are in my target audience. Okay, that's the input that we have. Okay, now the second stage is we send our initiation message, which is just asking them a yes or no question, basically. If they respond to that, then we ask for permission. So permission message. Yeah. And if they respond positively to that, we send them the pitch. If they respond positively to that, we send them the calendar link. Yeah, I guess we didn't. Okay, we'll do it like this. Right, so these are the different stages. Okay, you see how this is kind of like this email thing that I drew before. You can do this for any different kind of system. I don't know why this is so small. Okay, what in the world? That's a small error. Okay, well, we deal with it. And then we have our desired actions in between these different things. Okay, so desired action number one would be, we don't have our, oh, we do have a pen here. Okay, so desired action number one, when we send them the message, our desired action is for them to reply, right? And then our desired action here is also for them to reply. And right, we have all the other different metrics. That's like they see the formatting of the message and then they read it. But this is just the stuff that we can actually track, right? So we send them the pitch, they reply to the pitch, and they send them the calendar link, and then they book the call. Okay, so we need to actually track every single one of these metrics so that if we know that one of these things are out of place, that we can actually fix that. So responding to the initiation message is the positive reply rate. Responding positively to the permission message is the engaged reply rate. Responding to the pitch positively is the calendar send rate, because we always send them the calendar after they respond positively to the pitch, obviously. And then this is the appointment booking rate. Okay, so we track 1, 2, 3, all these 4 metrics. Okay, so we know that if the positive reply rate is low, that it has something to do with the initiation message, or it could have something to do with this, right? If we know the engaged reply rate is low, that is a problem probably with this permission message. Okay, if we know that the calendar send rate is low, it's a problem with the pitch. If we have an appointment booking rate, there could be an issue with the calendar link that we are sending. Okay, so now we know, right, which problems we have to solve depending on which KPI is out of place. And this is the same thing for doing Facebook ads. It's the same thing for doing any kind of direct response marketing. Okay, literally anything can be tracked, pretty much. Okay, so it's very important that we actually have this down. Okay, so my problem was I was doing this before, right? And my appointment booking rate was like 2%. My calendar send rate was like 3-4%. My permission message rate was like close to 10%. My initiation message rate was like 15%. Okay, so 15% of people who I send the message to replied positively, then 10%, etc. Right? So then I made a change to my software, and then 2 weeks later, I noticed that my positive reply rate dropped down to 2%. The only thing I changed was the software that I was using, and that's because it's cheaper, by the way. So I was like, huh, that's weird. Now, let's say I didn't know that I changed the software, right? A 2% positive reply rate, that is like unheard of low. So either I'm like saying something racist in my first message that no one's replying, or like there's a problem with deliverability. Okay. And first, I didn't even know that deliverability was a thing on Facebook. But now, obviously I do, because I fixed this problem. I'm like, 2% reply rate, and I changed almost nothing. So there's only like few things that could have caused that, right? So one, I'm targeting the completely wrong audience, right? So maybe I'm sending my message that I'm supposed to be sending to coaches. Maybe I'm sending them to like garbage collectors. Okay. Now, probably that's not the case, right? So I went and checked all the different people that I was sending messages to. They were active profiles in my audience. I'm like, that is really weird. Okay. Then what I noticed is when I was checking these, all these people, they weren't even seeing my message. I'm like, whoa, okay, so that's more information that I can use to solve this problem, right? So if it's only between deliverability and the people who I'm targeting, right? It's obviously not the people I'm targeting. It obviously is deliverability. So now I know that the problem is, it's not a Facebook systems problem, right? It's a Facebook delivery problem. That is a lot more easy to solve. So I'm like, why is my Facebook messages going to spam, right? So I searched this up on Google and YouTube, all this kind of research stuff, right? And then I found out that if you don't send a friend request before you actually send the message, basically you are going to start going to spam very quickly, okay? And I realized that the difference between the old software that I use and the new software that I use is that the new one wasn't sending friend requests before that. And there are a couple other factors that it could have as well, like sending too much of them is going to send you to spam, right? If you're sending the like exact same message, you can go to spam. I didn't think those were the problems, and it confirmed that it wasn't when I realized that you had to be sending friend requests before you actually send the message. And before I was doing that and it was working fine. Now I'm not doing it and it's not working fine. So I'm like, okay, well, that's obviously the problem. So I got another software from the same people that sent the friend request, and then I would automate, and then I would set up the next software that would send out the messages, and then the positive reply rate went all the way back up to 15. My appointment booking rate went all the way back up to 2%. But for a period of 2 weeks, I booked 0 appointments because my appointment booking rate was like, well, because my positive reply rate was 2%, right? There was nothing wrong with the pitch. The pitch was absolutely great. There was nothing wrong with the call to action. There was nothing wrong with the calendar itself. There was nothing wrong with any of my messaging. The only thing that was wrong was my deliverability. Okay. And if I had not have tracked this metric, if I only saw that my appointment booking rate was 0%, I would have never known how to solve this problem. Okay. So that is why it's so important that you're actually able to implement this stuff. Okay. This is literally going to save your life. If you can actually understand this and actually track your metrics. Okay. One last thing. So I want to go over the inputs here, because if you have no inputs, you're not going to get any outputs, okay? And this is the point that I want to drill every single video that I make, okay? If you have a 100% positive reply rate, a 100% engaged reply rate, every single person that you message books, right? Obviously not possible, but let's say it is. If you don't put anyone into the system, you don't get anyone on the on the end of the system, okay? And this is the goal. We need to bring them to this point in our system. And if we're putting no one in here, how are we going to get people out here, right? It doesn't make any sense. Okay. So an appointment booking rate of 2% is very solid. Okay. Especially when it's automated. And in this case, it is automated. I have a VA running the whole thing. Right. So we cannot physically get appointments without putting people in here. Okay. The system is how efficiently we can move people from here to here. 2% in this case is pretty good. Okay. But we can have the most efficient system in the world, but if we're not putting people in here, it's not going to work, okay? And I've said it 5 times, and I'm probably going to say it again, okay? Because it's extremely important, okay? If we have a system that is converting at 1% appointment booking rate, versus Joe over there, who has an appointment booking system that's booking appointments at 3%, but we put 500 people in here every single day, and he only puts 100 in there every single day. Guess who's going to book more appointments? And guess who's going to make more money? Okay. It's not Joe, because he's lazy and he's only sending 100 a day. Okay. So now don't send 500 on one account every day, because then you're going to get banned in like 5 seconds, but you can get multiple accounts and then you can send 500 a day like that. Okay. For Facebook specifically, the answer is 50 a day. You need to warm that up too. I'm not going to go in depth. That's not in the scope of this video. Okay. But this system is the efficiency of how you can leverage your time to book more appointments, okay? But if you put enough volume in this side, even if this system is worse than Joe's, you're still going to make more money than him, okay? Now, it's always best to improve on this and test different things, but at the end of the day, if you're sending 500 DMs every single day, you're going to book appointments and you're going to make money. Okay. This is just an efficient way of doing that. Okay. Now, obviously, if you're converting at 0%, then we have a problem, right? I would try and get at least 1% before you start scaling this. But just test until you get that 1%. Once you get the 1%, it's so much easier to send double the amount of messages than to try and get double the appointment booking rate. Okay. It's very hard and it takes a lot of different iterations to actually double your system. Okay. Unless you have like a massive problem like I did that I fixed and then instantly 5x'd it. But right, it's so much easier to send 200 emails instead of 100 than try and get an appointment booking rate of 4% when your appointment booking rate is 2%. Okay. It's such a higher leverage for your time that it just does not make sense not to do. Okay. So key takeaways: look for the specific constraints in your system rather than saying the whole system doesn't work, because then you're going to have a very difficult time actually trying to solve that problem. Second thing, make sure you're putting your inputs in, because if you put your inputs in, you will make money. And if you don't, then you won't. Okay. So that's everything that I wanted to share with you today. If you want to subscribe to the channel so that you get recommended more valuable content like this, so you can help scale your business and your agency to the next level and get those initial clients, right? this is going to be something of value to you. If you want to leave a comment asking me some questions that you have about the video, I'd be more than happy to respond to those and help you in any way that I can. I'm not selling anything right now to the general public. I have something that I am doing for agencies and coaches over $10,000 a month. So if you are that kind of a person, you can message me on Instagram. It's at Josh Dueck Biz, and then we can talk from there. Okay. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a thumbs up. Really helps me out, and I hope you have a fantastic day. And get off YouTube and get to fucking work.